Heads up, audio adventurers!
Welcome to Human Bubble Podcast, where Plato shares snacks with the weekend and Schopenhauer gets lost in a Spotify playlist. In our freaky studio where cats knocking things over.
We explore the chaos of being human through art, books, music, and philosophy, like a brainy fever dream with good lightnings. Strap in, it's weird, it's wise, and it's probably cheaper than therapy.
Minimalism can be just a trend, a temporary idea emerging from a life overwhelmed by consumption. We consume everything. And I have this impression that maybe in all this excess, we are trying to find ourselves in a world saturated with luxury. But what is real luxury? Isn't it peace of mind? A simple
Mm-hmm.
life aligned with nature? Do we really need to keep buying more just to feel something, to feel happy?
Hmm. Well, let's see. We've had discussions about this thing for quite some time, right? So I
Mhm.
think minimalism isn't just a passing fad. It's a conscious choice to step back from the noise and focus on what truly supports us. More like it's like what's truly in front of us, I would say. And in a world saturated by stuff, minimalism is a way to reclaiming intentions, allowing us to choose what we let in our lives. And Nessie, so as for what you said about luxury, so what is luxury? I reckon luxury can also be about depth, like a rare, meaningful connection, a moment of stillness, or perhaps a shared pause with family. Because
It can be.
no matter, yeah, it can be, certainly, because no matter how much money we have, if we have a loved one close to us, that is a luxury in my eyes.
hmm I think, yeah, we should consider that fact. What is the real luxury? And going to this point, I'm deeply inspired by Henry David Thoreau, who turned
Ooh.
away from, Mhm. Yeah, he turned away from modern life and he chose the woods instead. And he relied only on himself and his bond with nature. He built a cabin, he planted seeds in the soil, and he left us his notes, quiet traces of a life stripped down to what truly matters. Well, maybe we should do the same, but I am not
Hmm.
ready. So, are we ready to build a cabin somewhere?
Perhaps. Nessie, if
Mm-hmm.
we talk about Henry David Thoreau, I gotta mention Ralph Waldo Emerson. He was a guiding light for Thoreau, like his essays on self resilience and individualism deeply shaped Thoreau's thinking. He was so much inspired by Emerson that Thoreau moved to Walden Pond in 1845, seeking to live deliberately and, let's say, he was testing Emerson's call on his own life.
Mm-hmm.
And as for Henry David Thoreau, he wasn't just a philosopher, but also a keen naturalist and abolitionist. After this time at Walden Pond, he became a powerful voice for social justice, writing essays like Civil Disobedience, which later inspired leaders like Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. So sometimes I wondered, like, how this all is deeply connected and how somebody inspires somebody else's life, and the person who is inspired by these people can change their history of the country. Talk an example of
Mm-hmm.
Gandhi. I don't even need to say
Yeah,
this thing at all. People know it.
indeed, there was a great influence, I believe, and that's why we are talking about it now, right? As well,
Exactly.
I feel
Because they
like if
deserve to be
it's some
talked
kind
about.
of yeah, and I feel that kind of inspiration in that. And there is always in my mind the most famous quote from Walden. I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what I had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. So this most famous line says more than it seems at first glance.
Wow.
Mm, because we as human beings, we are constantly searching for the meaning of our existence. Once, but many times through life. And there are moments when we feel lost, moments when we reach our goals, to fail to reach them or and reach them, yeah, and still feel empty. And I feel that choosing a simpler life, letting go of unnecessary things, the ones that makes us passive, almost numb,
Mm-hmm.
everything that allows us to come closer to something pure, something I would say essential.
Ah, I see.
So, nothing feels more touching than the quiet rebirth of nature. Trees awaking in April, birds building their nests. It carries a sense of continuity. I would say almost an eternal rhythm, as if nature remembers something that we are still trying to understand.
Wow. I must say, like this quote really resonates with me, and like emptiness is that feeling. As human beings, we do return to this emptiness again and again from time to time. Moments when we have let's say when we are even after reaching to the goals of our lives, after achieving everything, being successful, but still we feel unfulfilled, and it's in those quiet gaps I feel like the emptiness, let's say the nature just steps in. Don't you think like those gaps in our unfulfillments, like even if we are successful, we feel that, right?
Of course.
So as you said, nature remembers something we struggle to grasp. As humans often lose the truth because we're surrounded by endless noises, objects, tasks, habits, and that keeps us away from seeing what's essential. But in the quiet rhythm of nature, we can start to remember what we have forgotten, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah,
if we step back from those things.
yeah, this quiet rhythm of nature. There is something what is very crucial here. But on the other hand, of course, there's some longing mm, to go back to the nature, of course, and to build a cabin. I think we have it, especially nowadays in this modern world. Everyone thinks, okay, I just want to have a peace of mind. That is a luxury.
Yeah.
And, you know, I am not sure that we are ready for that. Because how we can live without technique, without art shaped by human hands, without fashion. If I am an aesthetic person, I cannot ignore the beauty of artifacts. I feel a certain pleasure in buying things, in collecting paintings, books, and wearing clothes that allow me to express myself. And my style
Mm-hmm.
feels like a signature,
Oh.
something written in my own language. Well, I must say that, I must confess that I love being surrounded by objects that carry meaning. A quiet room filled with books, antique furniture, fragments of the past arranged into something intimate and something mine. Am I vanishing in this? Perhaps yes. But at the same time, I begin to see that nature is not only essence of life. There is also human creation, thought, craft, imagination, and what we build, what we leave behind, what we shape with our own hands. So, maybe the truth exists somewhere in between. As always, always is this problem with the middle.
If you talk about like you said something. If I'm an aesthetic person,
Mm-hmm.
Nessie, that's not a question of being if. You are an aesthetic person, by the way. Let me just clear that fact for people.
Yeah,
You
I know
are.
that. Yeah, I am.
So, I mean, I know just how picky and you can be for things. So, anyway, so I think like
Yeah, it would be hard for me. I just, I imagine how can I get rid of those things? It would be hard for me, for sure.
yeah, hmm I can understand that because I too deal with those things as well. So I think like what we're touching is something very real. We don't just live in nature; we also live through what we create, right? So
Yeah, that's
maybe
the
the
point.
mm-hmm, yeah. So maybe the real question is not whether we own things, but whether at some point those things begins to own us. There was a fine line between expression and attachment, isn't there, Nesse? And perhaps that's where the balance really lies, in not letting anything take control of our lives. What do you think?
Well, yeah, it's also not easy that, anything take control of our lives. I don't think so. We are under control all the time, but we are not conscious about. We are under control of, goods and of those things we buy every time, even though we don't need them. But
Mm-hmm.
as I said before, we like to be surrounded by objects, by things,
Yeah.
by beautiful craft. And but yeah, the conclusion is kind of sad. In fact, I don't fully believe in humanity anymore.
Oh.
Why? Because we've gone too far and somehow we've lost ourselves in what we've created. So we chase money with this quiet certainty that it equals happiness. We invent needs, multiply them, feed them, only to realize at some point that luxury is not what allows us to truly enjoy life. And yet, we keep going. We would sacrifice so much for money, for status, even for something as trivial as a new bag from Balenciaga. It reminds me about this yellow plastic bag, so
Oh
famous
my
last time.
god.
Yeah, it's like, it's like a bag from supermarket. And yeah, it got
There'll be a
really
lot of people that don't
viral.
like what you're saying, Nessie.
Okay, I would say I don't care what they think. I mean, I care, but if they want to judge me, it's something what I don't care
And let's
about
be clear, you
judgment.
have your opinion and you have complete right to express yourself about what you think.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
of course. And I accept that, and I allow others
Mm-hmm.
to have own mind, of course.
Exactly.
So yeah, the more diversity, the world is more colorful.
Exactly. Correct.
But going back to this chasing, you know, just just go to a shopping mall on the weekend. The chaos, the endless search for a parking spot, the restless movement of people caught in a fever of sales. In all this noise, we waste something far more valuable.
Oh, what is that?
hmm Time. It's
Oh.
time. hmm So we've become slaves of the modern world. But are we ready to let it go? I am not sure. I just express
Mm-mm.
my opinion. I'm not. I am not ready for that. So maybe it's not about rejection, but about boundaries. A
Mm-hmm.
deeply personal sense of what happiness actually means, because consumption can be a necessity, but it can just and easily turn into addiction. So Where is the balance? Where is the fragile golden middle?
Oh, that's an inquisitive question. Well, actually, that's also a very debatable topic. Like, do you really need money for happiness? Some people would say
Mhm.
yes. And yeah, money does matter actually, but not to the extent where we start sacrificing relationships and becoming selfish for the sake of money, right?
Mhm.
And because if you really look around, there are people who have everything, money, status, and everything, literally. So, but still they aren't happy. That's and that's when they when we realize, like, when you see those people when they're not happy with their lives, maybe maybe they don't have just one thing that's actually important for their life, that is peace, happiness, right? And yeah, there's a funny line, the very overrated line that says like money can't buy you happiness.
Yeah,
It's actually true, I
it's
think.
kind of controversial. Yeah, and
Yeah,
there's some personal approach and very subjective mind.
exactly, yeah. And you said, like, we became the slaves of the modern world. And I think that's partly true. But at the same time, the things we've created aren't the problems, Nessie. It's how we use them. The real issue, most people don't see them. They've got used by them. And honestly, that's a kind of addiction. It feels like it's worse than the drug addiction. I'm sorry, I gotta say this word, but it's true. And about that
Mhm. Yeah, it's worse.
fragile golden middle, I don't think there is one fixed line, and I think it's different for everybody. The real question is, how do you even recognize it, Nessie? But no one's going to tell, and moreover, no one's going to tell us like where to stop. And because, like, I think if somebody, Nessie, like, think of it about yourself, like if somebody tells you, okay, Nessie, this is where you stop, you should stop, so there'll be an ego inside of you telling yourself like, who is this person telling me to stop? I should tell myself when I need to stop, right?
Of
You
course, and
wouldn't.
it's always to please ourselves, right? If you want to please ourselves, if you want to make us happy because we can buy something new for us, it's like a gift.
Exactly, so we have to draw our line ourselves. More like nobody can draw it for ourselves and set our own
No,
boundaries.
no.
And that's the hardest part, maybe, because figuring out where enough actually is enough. The balance still feels unmeasured, and the fragile golden middle, we're still trying to find it, and like it's not even on our compass yet.
Yeah, of course. And it's like, as I said, a gift for ourselves. Like, okay, if I have a bad day, I
Uh
just
huh.
want to please myself and make myself more happy, more cheerful. So I'm going to buy something new for me, some new dress, some new shoes.
Exactly.
And yeah, that's why we said, I said before that we are lost. It's too
Mm-hmm.
late for us. The word of consumption is so wild. So I don't think that we are so strong to just resist. I don't think so. And I'm talking this statement is from my own experience. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I am not that strong. And as I said before as well, like I need those things. I need my books, I need my furniture. I need them because I like to be surrounded by beautiful aesthetic objects. That's the
Because
thing.
it represents
Maybe that's
you.
the thing that I couldn't stay in a room where, walls are wide and I have just only one table and two chairs and that's all. That's minimalism in this modern approach. But I don't think so. I could survive in that. Of course, I would. I mean, the cabin, like Henry David Thoreau. Of course, we don't
Uh
need
huh.
much. That's the point. But life is not only about that. Life is also about to admire things.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Yeah. But there's something else I want to talk
What is it?
about very
Go ahead.
briefly. I've been thinking about this controversial idea of Peter Singer that our
Oh,
moral duty is to share what we have with those who suffer from famine, that we don't truly need luxury, that our responsibility is to respond, to give, to react, to not remain indifferent in the face of human pain. And it's unsettling, of course, because it forces a question we don't like to ask. How much of what we have is actually necessary?
wow.
And how much in excess we choose to keep? If we follow this idea to its end, it becomes almost radical, almost unbearable. It suggests that comfort itself might be a kind of moral compromise. And yet,
Hmm.
we continue to live surrounded by things.
Oh, I like this question. I certainly do. So maybe the hardest truth, Nessie, not that we don't understand what is enough, but actually we're not ready to live by it. Because even now, I'm still surrounded by things, and honestly, Nessie, I don't think I don't know which one of them I can truly let go of. And if
Hmm.
I, or even if I'm ready to find out, just like you. Perhaps the golden middle isn't something we find, perhaps it's something we learn to feel slowly, quietly, like trying to follow the direction on compass that doesn't point anywhere yet. Still, Nessie, still, we keep moving on as if something in us already knows the way.
Already knows the way. So we collect, we consume, we surround ourselves with things and still feel something missing.
Because what we're looking for was never something we could buy. And for our dear audience, I would just implore you to tell us your views about our podcast and this episode. Just write down your comments, and me and Nessie would really like to see your opinions on it. Thank you very much.